Why's the moon
Brian,
out?
thank you so much. Well, let me teach you how the globe works, Mark. Let me teach you how the time zones work. Great to have you, Brian. So, yes, of course, USA wins. And we were just talking about this column that Yahoo put out saying it's time to blow this whole thing up. Get college kids in there, get amateurs in there, that people will wrap their arms around it a little more, because right now the expectation is if Team USA doesn't win gold, it's a disappointment. What are your initial thoughts on hearing that?
No way. The level of Olympic basketball is spectacular. Right now, you've got Slovenia and France. They're playing right now. It's the first quarter. Luka is playing spectacular. He had 10 points and 5 assists in the first quarter. They're beating the French. Just because the Americans are doing well, it doesn't mean it's not good basketball. The Australians played really well today for a while. Kevin Durant was just better. And, if you don't want to see a guy like Kevin Durant play in the Olympics, I don't know what to say to you. You want the highest level of basketball. You want the countries, sending their best, representing their best. You don't want to go backwards. I think it would be a terrible mistake. And quite frankly, college players are playing 1 year in college. So what's a college player? A college player is what you happen to get him in that 1 year. So what if you're not 19 years old in an Olympic year, you can't play in the Olympics? Quite frankly, it's a ridiculous premise. We've already talked about it too much.
That's what I'm talking about. I couldn't have said it better myself, Wendy. But who would you rather see in the gold medal games? Would you rather see the rematch, or would you rather see Luka versus this USA team?
Man, listen, guys, if you watching the Slovenians play, it's kind of crazy because everybody's double teaming Luka, right? He scored 48 points in his first Olympic game a couple of weeks ago. So everybody's like, look, I'm not letting this dude put up 50 on us. We're going to shut him down. Well, every time you throw a double team, he's got a countermeasure. If you come from the right, he knows where to go to the left. If you come from behind him, he knows to go right. He knows where to throw a bounce pass. He knows where to throw a lob. He knows who's open at the 3-point line. He knows who's open at the mid-range. I mean, he is like a surgeon out there. And the French, who are a really good team, are having difficulty handling it. He's eating them alive right now. Now, it's only the first quarter. He's eating them alive. And I'm just going to say this. Luka is 17-0 playing for Slovenia. And, okay, this is their first Olympics, but a couple years ago when he was like 17, they won the Euro Championships, which is the hardest tournament outside the Olympics really to win. It's an absolute meat grinder. I would even say it's harder to win than the World Championships because there's no easy games. So playing 17-0 Luka, which is 18-0, I guess he would be if they win, I mean, that would be incredible.
Brian Windhorst joining us on the Goodyear Hotline. He, of course, is our ESPN NBA insider. If you're wondering what that game looks like right now, Slovenia and France are currently tied in the other semifinal. The winner of that game will take on the USA squad in the gold medal match. All right, let's go back stateside, Brian, because obviously a flurry of free agency moves over the last few days. And we're really interested in the battle in the East. The Heat have bolstered their roster in a very short time. Where do you think they rank now amongst the teams in the East?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're obviously right there. I mean, it's hard to look at Milwaukee and Brooklyn and say that the Heat are neck and neck with them. They've made some really good moves, and they're going to be rugged defensively. I mean, we're in an era right now on offense where it's just total gas. I mean, if you look at what the Bulls are doing, the Bulls have assembled a team that is basically all offense. I mean, Lonzo Ball defends a little bit, but that is a straight offensive team. And then you look at the Heat, and you look at P.J. Tucker and Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry. These are guys who are going to knock you around and bruise you on defense. So they're going a different direction. But I will say that I think a key for the Heat is Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero had a spectacular rookie season, was awesome for them in the bubble. They made the finals. Last year he had a sophomore slump. And so they need that differentiating talent in Hero. I mean, it's obviously not all going to be on him, but if he can elevate his game and become the borderline all-star that he showed as a rookie, that would be a huge difference maker for them.
Now, yesterday LeBron was in his feelings again. He was talking about all the dollars and talking about keeping that same energy, but then he took it down. What do you think are any other concerns about the age of the roster? Are they warranted, or are they just hot gas?
I'm not worried about the age of the roster. I mean, some of these guys actually fit pretty well. And by the way, they signed 3 guys in their 20s. So, I mean, I know they're old, but they do have some young guys. I'm concerned about their defense, because the thing about it is, as much as we talk about Anthony Davis and LeBron, and obviously those guys are the drivers, but the Lakers have been a great defensive team. They were a great defensive team when they won the title. They were a great defensive team last year when they were a high seed before LeBron and AD got hurt. And they've basically flushed that roster. And most of the guys they've brought in are not known for their defense. Certainly Russell Westbrook is not. Certainly Carmelo Anthony is not. And so this is really going to be on, AD and LeBron to defend their positions well, because they're going to have to play bigger with the way this team is designed, and it's on Frank Vogel. It's a lot of pressure to see if his defensive system can hold up with less talented defensive players.
Brian Windhorst joining us on the Goodyear Hotline. All right, let's talk about the Knicks for a moment, because obviously big move with Kemba Walker going to New York. And here we are again talking about how things shake out in the East. You mentioned the Nets.
But the Knicks just sort of spent a lot of money and only maybe marginally got better. And that comes a couple of days after the draft, where they traded back in the first round 2 times. And so they had all this momentum, and look, they didn't have a free agent that they could land. It wasn't like Kyle Lowry was ready to come, but they just sort of were blah. And maybe it works out. They overachieved last year, but I thought they were at the precipice of leaping forward, and I'm just not blown away by their free agent period.
Interesting.
So when you look at some of the moves yesterday, what team got exponentially better yesterday?
Well, I mean, the Bulls are swinging hard here. They went after Lonzo Ball, paid him a really big salary, $85 million, and then they went out, signed Alex Caruso to be a quality. They wanted him to do what he did for the Lakers, which was to play both guard positions off the bench. And I am told they are still trying to make DeMar DeRozan happen, which would be a sign and trade, where they would send Lauri Markkanen to San Antonio, and then DeMar DeRozan would come back in a double sign and trade to Chicago. Now, that sounds complicated because it is, but if the Bulls are able to pull that off, that's a pretty big influx of talent. And then you have the Miami Heat and LA Lakers in a mad scramble for minimum players. The Lakers may need to sign up to 9 minimum guys, and I know that they've added some guys already, guys like Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Kent Bazemore. Well, the Heat are going to have to sign 7 of them. So if any player is out there who's a free agent and can be gotten for the minimum, I promise they've got the Lakers on line 1 and the Heat on line 2. So far, the Lakers are getting guys, but there's some guys out there we're going to have some competition for, and it's going to get interesting.
What's going to be the average age of the Lakers squad? Like 35? I mean, you talk about maybe Iggy coming out there. They're bringing Dwight Howard back. They seem like they're putting the band back together, but where are they going to get the youth and minutes in this roster?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Lakers are trying something that most teams would not try. They are going against the grain. They are not playing the type of basketball here that so many teams are playing, and maybe it's going to work. I'm really hesitant to brand this too reckless of a decision, but it is a real roll of the dice. And the understanding that I have is, like, this is what LeBron and Anthony Davis want. They want guys that they're close with, they have a comfort level with, and they're going to try to put together a team. And they say in the NBA, you win with men and not boys. I mean, that is proven year over year. But it's nice to have a couple of boys around.
Talking to Brian Windhorst right now, our ESPN NBA insider. You mentioned the Bulls, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to tuck in my Chicago. I'm going to ask a few questions here. Yesterday, or maybe the day before, you had written that Zach LaVine just wants respect in his next contract, and that could be coming up. He's due for an extension, I believe, this offseason. And so with the moves that they made, are they able to give him that respect that he wants there in Chicago?
Not right now. So Zach is in an unusual situation in that he can sign an extension. He's got 1 year left, but his contract doesn't allow him to sign an extension at market value. So to break it down for you, he could sign a 4-year extension, just like Jimmy Butler is about to do with the Miami Heat. But he could only sign it for about $105 million. I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it sounds like really a good deal for him, but it's actually well below his market value. He probably could get around 150 to 200 on the open market. So it doesn't make sense for him to sign that. So the only way the Bulls can get him to extend right now is to use salary cap space to give him a raise. This is very, very rare, but it is legal. To give him a raise on this year's contract, give him more money this year, and then build a new salary off of that higher contract number. This happens maybe once every 3 to 5 years in the NBA. To do that, you need salary cap space, and the Bulls are out there spending money, not clearing cap space. So what they're going to try to do, obviously, here is bring players in that increases their competitive level and make Zach want to stay. I think it's not impossible, but it's going to be hard for them to dump money to create space at this point.
Interesting. Lastly here, Wendy, before we let you go,